St. Jerome was born in present-day Yugoslavia. As a youngster, he led a life of vagrancy. As a student in Rome, he led a life of dissipation. He tried the monastic life, and it did not work out for him. He only reluctantly, he translated the, and this has been the Church in Time.
And welcome back to our live coverage from St. Peter's Square in this moment of preparation for the inaugural Mass that we will be celebrating together on Sunday. And it is a wonderful day, a wonderful feast day to celebrate married couples. I want to give a little shout out to my parents, Mommy and Papi. It's their wedding anniversary. Again, milestones that we're missing to be here to provide coverage for the EWTN family on radio and around the world. Our panel here, Monsignor Landry, National Director of the Pontifical Mission Societies USA, Dr. Matthew Bunson, Editorial Director and Vice President of EWTN News, and a special guest, Father Michael Baggett, who is an expert on AI, and I seem to forget your affiliation.
Well, I am blessed to teach at Regina Apostolorum here in Rome, also the Angelicum and Catholic Tech.
Well, we'll get into the Angelicum in a second, but I also know that you have a great gift for celebrating Mass with the EWTN family, so we're so grateful for that, to know that the Vatican Bureau here also receives the grace of being able to celebrate Mass together and pray together. Well, let's talk about this feast day real quick. Just because it's such a wonderful gift to married families, those listening can learn so much about St. Isidore and Santa Maria de la Cabeza.
So many of the saints over the course of history have been celibate, whether they're priests or whether they're religious, founders of religious orders, etc. But today we celebrate married saints from 900 years ago. St. Isidore and St. Maria Toribio was her name, but she's called, in a weird use of language, St. Mary of the Head, Santa Maria de la Cabeza. So they've always been a real model for married couples, and it's not by coincidence that the United Nations chose for the International Day of the Family their feast day. So it's a day in which we remember marriage and its connection to the family, and the connection willed by God from the beginning of the vast majority of Catholic
Meeting of families affiliated with it.
Well, that's exactly right. So the World Meeting of Families goes back to John Paul II, trying to, in exactly the same way they did with World Youth Day, to create these markers for families, for young people, for married couples, to have this opportunity to reflect on the vocation to married life, and then enrich it, and then carry it out into the world. A couple of years ago, we were here, I think in 2022, for the World Meeting of Families here, and
that also affects life here in Rome. You're not in any way excluded from the ills that affect the rest of the world and society, with marriage rates going down, with natality going down. What can you tell us about the way that World Meeting of Families, or even the Jubilee of Families, might affect or encourage young people to marry, to have children?
Well, I think one of the greatest encouragements is seeing the living example of holy families when they transmit the joy that comes from that mutual self-gift and the joy that comes from constant self-sacrifice, because children can be anti-narcissist makers. They really just purify parents, and it's amazing when I see young people that I've accompanied in spiritual direction or that I've taught reach this whole new level of maturity when they welcome children into their life. And it's always beautiful to see them take that risk. So many people delay marriage because they say, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. You'll never be ready. But the grace that comes through the sacrament, day in and day out, not just in the day of the beautiful wedding, but day in and day out, that sustaining grace is what enables that constant self, says people are.
That stride in marriage. I've loved watching my friends marry and become who I know our Lord wants them to be, but they're Hong Kong and listen to Britney Spears. It will happen, but we won't hear Laura Pausini there. So even though we are the great exporter here in the Vatican of the faith,
That double message. Always, as the Vicar of Christ, he's going to be calling us to a cassock. But it's a time
what America exports, both for the positive and the negative. So that's one aspect. The other thing, too, is because he renewal,
Unique role that the United States plays economically, culturally, states, and
had a group come to EWTN and interview us post the overturning of Roe versus Wade, a group from Latin America that said, well, now we feel like if it can happen here, it can happen in the rest of the world. Now, that's not an arrogance that we are saying that we are
sometimes
to give. We had a group come to EWTN and interview us post the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
Sentendomi chiamato, senti justice.
the fruits of their labor and the ones who took their right, important part of
I would love for you to the continuity with this new page.
socialism and communism on the human person, the dignity of work and the dignity of
Human and digital environments in
philosophers, theologians, leaders in Catholic apostolates, and we were trying to find the best way to go forward. Imperial documents to do. So, discuss the rich complexity of the 14th
To young people, minors,
addictive ways. This attention into the affection economy, and companies are already manipulating our human vulnerabilities. If they can capture not a place of love,
what I say isn't new, but new.
technical solutions, which are always going to be important, wave or
but
any
you'd think somebody that he would be isolated. No, he was very keen on that. And he used a word that I think is going to be very important in the coming years. That's formation from St. Paul.
be sitting here dressed the way I am in front of St. Peter's Basilica, and this is a real backdrop. This is not AI generated, thanks be to God. I would not, like Magisterium AI and many others who are offering similar services, it was one people
Led by the church.
to the analog.
Right.
From the online resource, the AI system,
I know that we could continue the way
Sure.
that they'll actually be able to live the Christian life. One thing is to read about it, and another thing is to live it. And I know Pope Francis certainly talked about that, and Pope Leo will build on that as well. Well, family, I know that we could continue this conversation for another hour, which would be fantastic. And you can catch us all online, I would say. Follow us for more information about how this AI revolution is going to continue to be led by the church in a beautiful way. And we want to remind you that you can tune in to EWTN news programs for more coverage tomorrow on Friday. And then we will have a special on Saturday, and on Sunday, our coverage of that inaugural Mass, where we will be talking about all of the symbols that you will see to prepare you for how to live that beautiful liturgy. We're so grateful to be with you here. Remember, we can only do this with your support and with your prayers. Know that we are praying for you from here. God bless you.